We begin tonight with an extraordinary development that has set the digital currency world alight. Across specialized financial chat rooms, private Telegram discussion channels, and the deepest corners of currency investment forums, there is one question dominating every conversation. Have we just witnessed the preliminary, non-public exchange rates for the Iraqi Dinars IQDIV and the Vietnamese Dong of VND leak into the public domain? The evidence fueling this intense debate is technical and widespread. Screenshots allegedly capturing momentary rate flashes on proprietary foreign exchange, Forex monitors are circulating like wildfire. Whispers from individuals claiming access to internal banking information suggest this could be the single most compelling technical indicator yet of a forthcoming, coordinated currency revaluation event, which some have termed the dual RV. This is not the typical cyclical rumor. The sheer volume and synchronous nature of the reported system activity feel fundamentally different, signaling that a significant financial mechanism may be moving behind the global economic curtain. The palpable energy currently gripping the community is unmistakable. For many who have tracked these currencies for years, this is being treated as a potential breakthrough moment, distinguishing itself entirely from the routine speculative chatter. If the reported activity holds true, we may be on the threshold of one of the most highly anticipated decades in the making currency adjustments in modern financial history. Tonight on Dinar Shift, we are dissecting every facet of this breaking news. Our deep dive will explore precisely what is being reported, the nature of the alleged screenshots, and the underlying economic logic that explains why sophisticated global traders, market analysts, and even notoriously quiet central bank insiders are suddenly monitoring the IQD and VND with such laser focus, and critically, at the exact same time. The data streams are converging, and what is reportedly unfolding on back-end trading systems could fundamentally alter the economic narrative that so many have been anticipating for so long. The most compelling aspect of this dramatic development is the reported sequence of events that occurred late last night. Multiple professional-grade Forex tracking platforms, the systems exclusively used by major banks, hedge funds, and currency analysts, not the public, reportedly exhibited as temporary and fleeting rate changes for both the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong. What immediately electrified the global trading desks was the observation that these two disparate currencies appeared to update, test, or align within minutes of each other. This is an anomaly in international finance. Under normal circumstances, when a country undertakes a currency adjustment, the process is singular. Other nations might react days later, but simultaneous technical movement is virtually unheard of unless a joint, high-level coordination protocol is in effect. This close temporal alignment suggests both the Central Bank of Iraq and the State Bank of Vietnam may have asynchronously activated a test phase within their digital systems, hinting at a planned alignment of their monetary policies. The digital community responded with instantaneous force, becoming a conduit for the information. Within hours of the reported technical anomaly, a flood of screenshots began to spread, purporting to display placeholder rates significantly higher than the current official market values. Specifically, figures for the dinar were reportedly seen in a range suggesting a major shift against the US dollar, with equally elevated numbers circulating for the dong. While all these alleged figures are unverified and must be treated with extreme caution, the numbers being shared bear a striking resemblance to the theoretical, fundamentally sound projections that economic analysts have long discussed for a revaluation based on the true underlying strength of these two national economies. This consistency lends a degree of technical plausibility to the leaks, elevating the current discussion beyond mere wishful thinking and into the realm of systemic testing. The natural and logical human response to this synchronization is to question how two countries, geographically separated by continents and distinct in their core economies, could suddenly appear to move in such a tightly coordinated fashion. The answer, according to economic observers, lies in their shared position as emerging markets with undervalued currencies and their common need for global financial integration. Both Iraq and Vietnam are viewed by many experts as economies whose exchange rates have not accurately reflected their true fiscal strength or long-term potential. Iraq is a nation defined by its vast oil reserves, substantial foreign currency buffers, and increasing participation in international oil contracts that demand a modernized financial interface. Vietnam is an economic success story driven by manufacturing exports, technological investment, and crucial trade agreements that have deeply woven it into the global supply chain. For years, both nations have embarked on ambitious programs to modernize their core banking systems and bolster financial transparency, often under the guidance and oversight of major global financial institutions like the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank. This shared history of systemic modernization provides the essential technical foundation for a coordinated rate adjustment. Therefore, the hypothesis that provisional rates appeared simultaneously as part of a joint or strategically synchronized reform, dual revaluation, gains considerable traction. This strategic alignment is often viewed as a mechanism to introduce greater stability, reduce regional reliance on a single external currency, like the US dollar for trade, and better balance the economic power between rich Middle Eastern economies and industrializing Asian economies. 2Q, a particularly fascinating element contributing to the current speculative wave is the formal response, or rather, the lack of response, from the official monetary authorities. To date, neither the Central Bank of Iraq nor the State Bank of Vietnam has released any official public statement to either deny the veracity of the circulating screenshots or clarify the nature of the reported system anomalies. This official silence stands in stark contrast to standard central bank protocol. Typically, when rumors of a major, imminent rate change circulate, central banks act swiftly and decisively to issue a firm denial to quell market volatility and manage public expectations. The fact that, in this instance, we are met with a thus deafening, protracted silences is being interpreted by many as an unofficial, powerful confirmation that something significant is indeed in motion. This non-denial has ignited theories suggesting that central bank officials are likely operating under a strict communication embargo, waiting for a precisely coordinated and globally agreed upon moment for a collective announcement. The silence is seen not as neglect, but as evidence that the technical and political preparations are so far along that any comment now would be premature and disruptive. Further lending credence to this interpretation are recent, pre-event public statements from both Iraq and Vietnam's monetary authorities. These statements reportedly utilized strikingly similar language, often reiterating that currency reform is progressing according to plan. In the technical language of central banking, this phraseology is a common indicator that highly sensitive, systemic testing and deployment of new financial frameworks are in their advanced stages. Two reports emerging from key financial hubs worldwide, from the trading floors of Dubai and the technological platforms of Singapore to the corporate terminals in London and New York, have corroborated the widespread nature of the back-end technical activity. Professional traders have detailed how specific currency pairs involving the IQD and VND were subjected to brief but distinct temporary trading locks, a clear sign of system maintenance or updating. Furthermore, data feeds were observed refreshing with uncharacteristic speed, and digital placeholders for exchange rates would appear and then disappear within a short window, often displaying the elevated, alleged revaluation figures. This behavior is considered highly atypical and is precisely what occurs when fundamental changes are being loaded into core financial software. Within the intricate architecture of professional forex systems, this kind of a synchronized, behind-the-scenes movement is a well-known precursor to a new rate going live. Trading professionals in multiple institutions have reported seeing temporary, pending, status indicators or new, unclassified internal codes pop up for these two currencies on their terminal screens. Further claims suggest that the internal systems at various major international banking institutions briefly displayed the same higher numbers that were simultaneously circulating in the online community. While these observations are anecdotal and do not constitute an official rate change, the fact that this activity is reportedly occurring globally and in unison strongly indicates that major structural work is underway deep within the international financial infrastructure, far exceeding the scope of a mere domestic reform effort. The technical synchronicity now being reported gains significant context when placed against the backdrop of the fundamental, long-term economic shifts occurring in both countries. In recent months, Iraq has made decisive moves to execute oil for trade contracts that incorporates as non-US dollar settlement systems, a strategic step toward monetary diversification and securing greater sovereignty over its economic policy. Concurrently, Vietnam has been rapidly advancing its digital banking reforms, forging major partnerships with financial technology firms in both Western and Asian markets. These parallel actions underscore a fundamental transition in both nations' financial engagement with the world. Moreover, both Iraq and Vietnam have recently garnered positive performance assessments from international oversight institutions, affirming their successful progress toward achieving and maintaining currency stability. This pattern suggests that both countries have been systematically preparing the stage to return to the global financial arena with exchange rates that are stronger, more transparent, and more reflective of their actual economic output. The timing, coinciding with the final quarter of the year, is deemed strategically advantageous. The global economy is currently navigating a period of adjustment, with many resource-rich nations and emerging industrial powers seeking to recalibrate their position amidst a shifting balance of global trade and external currency pressures. A coordinated move by Iraq with its oil power and Vietnam with its manufacturing engine to align their currencies in a new network that is less reliant on traditional currency systems would be a highly rational and potent strategic move, securing their long-term economic leverage. The response to these alleged leaks within the online currency community has escalated rapidly into an Essex explosive, highly charged event. Private discussion groups, major social media threads, and live video streams dedicated to currency analysis went into a frenzy overnight. Participants intensely scrutinized and debated every shared image, zooming in on data points and analyzing the nuances of the alleged forex figures. The primary point of contention revolves around whether these momentary appearances were just theoretical test values, numbers designed only to test the systems, or actual, final placeholders ready for deployment. Experienced currency watchers, who have witnessed numerous speculative cycles, emphasize that previous rumors of revaluation simply lack the simultaneous, concrete technical activity now being reported globally. The critical difference that has captured the attention of even the most cautious analysts is the sheer technical nature of the reports. The observed is concurrent system updates across multiple institutions rather than vague, unconfirmed pronouncements. Many analysts, typically known for their skepticism towards such rumors, have conceded that the high degree of synchronization reported across the systems is simply too precise and too coincidental to dismiss as random error or isolated activity. When the data streams for two completely separate national currencies reportedly light up at the same moment across global banking systems, it strongly suggests a pre-arranged, calculated protocols is being followed. As one Forex technician's message widely circulated online stated, such activity is the unmistakable fingerprint of advanced testing protocols. A deeper examination of Iraq's internal preparations reveals a trajectory building toward this moment over many months. The Iraqi government has been publicly committed to a comprehensive program of Sexisra exchange system modernization, actively introducing new digital platforms intended to manage domestic and international transactions with unprecedented levels of transparency and efficiency. Official statements have repeatedly stressed that Iraq is nearing readiness to engage on the global markets with an entirely modernized and robust exchange framework. This massive technical overhaul is not a minor adjustment. It signifies a governmental and central bank mandate to fundamentally alter the nation's financial standing and integration. The strategic shift extends directly to Iraq's most valuable export oil. Recent oil trade arrangements have demonstrated a clear pivot toward multi-currency settlement, reducing the exclusive dependency on the US dollar for its core trade commodity. This process of trade diversification is a textbook maneuver, often deployed in advance of a major currency adjustment, particularly when a country seeks to optimize its position to attract broad foreign investment. The long-held view by many financial observers is that the value of the Iraqi dinar has been artificially pegged below its true economic potential, and that Acer's revaluation would serve as a necessary and accurate correction, properly reflecting the massive underlying strength of its oil-backed national reserves and resource base. Vietnam's journey toward this point runs an equally compelling parallel course, further strengthening the case for quiet, strategic coordination. In the last year, the State Bank of Vietnam has focused intently on building up its foreign exchange reserves, securing key digital banking partnerships with influential U.S. and European financial entities, and successfully maintaining a level of inflation stability that is superior to many of its regional neighbors. This fiscal discipline has propelled Vietnam into an even more desirable destination for foreign investors who are pouring capital into its burgeoning manufacturing sectors, a trend that has led to the country being widely hailed as the next major economic powerhouse in Asia. The implementation of a stronger, revalued dong would be a strategic move designed to significantly elevate Vietnam's global financial reputation, which would in turn foster a more balanced and predictable environment for complex international trade. A higher currency value can help a country stabilize the cost of essential imported technologies and materials needed for its manufacturing industry, leading to greater economic efficiency. Therefore, the strategic logic for both nations, Iraq securing its oil wealth and Vietnam maximizing its manufacturing leverage, to step into a new, higher economic phase together, supported by quiet coordination among international financial institutions, is strategically sound and economically justifiable. To fully grasp the implications of the current environment, it is necessary to clearly define the concept at the center of the discussion, the dual RV, or dual revaluation. This term refers to a planned, synchronous upward adjustment of the official exchange rates for two major, emerging market currencies within a specific time frame as part of a collective regional or global economic reset. The policy objective is not merely to increase the nominal value of the currency for existing holders. The broader goal is to fundamentally rebalance international trade dynamics, stabilize the complex pricing mechanisms used for global imports and exports, and ensure that regional economic agreements accurately reflect the true economic stature of the participating nations. Should the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong see a coordinated rise in value, it would enable both countries to establish powerful, assess new trade mechanisms that significantly reduce the historical reliance on traditional reserve currencies. Consider the potential Iraqi oil and Vietnamese manufactured goods being directly traded or exchanged using their own, newly strengthened local currencies as the primary medium of exchange. This action would be a decisive geopolitical and economic declaration in the global arena, signaling a strategic realignment of trade routes and currency influence. The reported simultaneous technical preparations across global banking systems are seen as the logistical groundwork for this monumental policy shift. The reported activity is not confined to the highly specialized Forex trading systems. There are also claims that the initial signals have appeared deep within the internal systems of major banking institutions in the United States. Reports have surfaced of individuals momentarily observing as temporary IQD and VND listings within the proprietary, internal-facing banking software, not the public-facing rates. This suggests to many analysts that major U.S. financial institutions are actively engaged in preparing their complex technological infrastructure for the imminent synchronization required by a global currency change. For large banks, aligning their risk modeling, compliance tools, and accounting systems with a major currency revaluation is a task that requires extensive pre-planning and testing. In the highly regulated world of institutional finance, the appearance of these pending or placeholder rates is a recognized sign that global systems are being calibrated and aligned before new data is formally released. There are further unconfirmed reports that internal asset appointment, booking interfaces, and private currency exchange tools, the operational components used by bank staff to manage client transactions, are being subjected to quiet, non-activated testing. If these reports hold true, they indicate that the critical back and infrastructure necessary to handle a massive, synchronized currency shift is technically ready, merely awaiting the official, internationally confirmed trigger to go live and begin real-time operations. The precise timing of the current activity, occurring at the end of the year, is a key element that analysts believe provides a logical framework for the entire event. They point to a convergence of three major, mutually reinforcing reasons for a decision to act now. First, both Iraq and Vietnam are reportedly approaching the start of new national fiscal cycles, which is universally regarded as the most optimal and financially clean time for a new exchange rate to be implemented across all government budgeting, trade contracts, and national accounting protocols. A change at the fiscal year provides a clear baseline for future economic forecasting. Secondly, the timing closely follows the recent conclusion of several as high-level, multinational financial summits, gatherings that reportedly included significant discussions focused on achieving greater currency alignment and trade equilibrium among key emerging market nations. Policy decisions made at this level are often the quiet catalyst for coordinated technical action. Thirdly, a significant number of the world's major financial institutions and forex data providers have recently finalized large-scale software upgrades and system maintenances, often completed during periods designed to minimize market disruption. This collective technical readiness is seen as a necessary prerequisite for a synchronized rate deployment, suggesting a planned coordinated sequence of events has been executed to when these three distinct factors, the optimal fiscal timing, the high-level policy conclusions, and the global infrastructure's technical readiness, are synthesized, the puzzle pieces align with striking precision. This congruence suggests that the observed technical activity is highly unlikely to be an isolated error or mere coincidence. Instead, it supports the compelling narrative of a hours quietly building, highly strategic global financial adjustment. The excitement surrounding this moment is therefore not just an emotional response, it is technically grounded in the signals that financial professionals are trained to interpret. When back-end data feeds momentarily halt and then refresh at an unusual pace, it is the classic technical sign that system testing is active and deployed. Furthermore, the simultaneous appearance of this specific behavior across two nations and multiple global trading systems within the same narrow window of time is what professional analysts define as synchronization in motion. The IQD and VND data feeds are reportedly displaying these precise collective signs right now, even if the alleged leakage rates are ultimately revealed to be only test values. Their synchronized appearance confirms that the international system is currently being calibrated for a fundamental, official change. For many dedicated observers, this systemic activity represents the strongest, most tangible evidence in years that a long-anticipated movement is genuinely underway, progressing deep within the machinery of global finance. Two, despite the overwhelming volume of technical evidence and the resulting community fervor, the critical importance of caution cannot be overstated. It must be unequivocally stated that ASER's no official revaluation is confirmed until a new, verified exchange rate is publicly announced by the Central Bank of Iraq or the State Bank of Vietnam. Digital reports, online leaks, and circulating screenshots are inherently susceptible to manipulation, distortion, or outright fabrication by bad actors. The only legitimate confirmation will be the official, published rate on the central bank's portals or the verified, real-time listings on globally recognized and regulated forex trading platforms, such as those used by major banks and financial news providers. However, the persistent formal silence from both governments remains a potent factor that demands attention. Central banks typically issue swift denials to mitigate market impact when false rumors are circulating. The current, prolonged, and intentional lack of comment is anything but typical. It is a powerful signal being interpreted by many as evidence that officials are operating under a severe strict communication blackout, a common and necessary protocol enforced during the final, highly sensitive coordination phase of a major international policy deployment to prevent market disruption and secure the integrity of the process until the launch moment. Considering the powerful hypothetical scenario where the reported or similar elevated rates are officially confirmed, the resulting changes would send significant shockwaves across global finance. The Iraqi dinar, currently valued at a fraction of its perceived intrinsic worth, would instantly be elevated to one of the strongest, most stable currencies in the Middle East, accurately reflecting its massive oil reserves. Similarly, the Vietnamese Dong, often viewed as a low-value currency globally, would rise substantially, securing Vietnam's position among the most credible and powerful Asian economies, commensurate with its dynamic manufacturing sector. Both nations would immediately realize massive financial credibility, a surge in foreign investment, and a healthier, more balanced trade profile. The subsequent ripple effect would spread far beyond Asia and the Middle East, influencing the dynamics of the major global currencies, including the US dollar. Institutional investors across the world would be forced to swiftly reallocate their portfolios, diverting capital toward these newly strengthened emerging markets. The scale of this financial movement would be monumental, potentially leading to an event that financial historians would later mark as a defining moment of a new decade in global currency alignment and economic power restructuring. This potential shift underscores the sheer weight and significance of the technical signals currently being reported. For the dedicated cohort of currency holders and long-term observers, this confluence of technical signals and official silence has created a moment of intense emotional anticipation. Many have held to the belief for years, even a decade or more, that these structurally undervalued currencies were destined to be pegged to reflect their true economic fundamentals. They have meticulously tracked every development, every article, and every rumor. Now, they are confronted with a body of technical evidence that possesses a level of errors, global coordination, and systemic detail that is unprecedented in the history of these narratives. The surge of hope is naturally high, but a disciplined, rational response is essential. A currency revaluation of this international scale cannot be accomplished on a whim. It requires precise timing, flawless technical deployment, and ironclad coordination across global regulatory and banking systems. Therefore, the most prudent course of action is to maintain absolute vigilance and wait patiently for the single, irrefutable official confirmation before considering any financial move. The systems are reportedly ready, the groundwork has been laid, but the final policy switch has not yet been authorized. Emotional reactions must be balanced by cold, hard data from official sources to ensure responsible engagement with this developing story. In final summary, the current narrative is defined by the explosive online buzz surrounding alleged screenshots that suggest possible new, elevated rates for both the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong. This speculation is being significantly underpinned by reports of synchronized back-end system updates observed across multiple professional trading platforms worldwide. Compounding the situation, the central banks of both Iraq and Vietnam have maintained a complete, unusual silence regarding the leaks, even as their governments confirm that currency reform is progressing as planned. The infrastructure is technically ready, with major institutions completing necessary software upgrades and forex activity spiking in a unified manner. Every technical signal reported points toward a process of advanced, quiet preparation, a systemic buildup to a potentially massive financial event. Whether the official change manifests in the immediate future or slightly later, the sustained movement in the data suggests that the moment of official action is closer than it has been in years. The message to all observers is clear: remain informed, prioritize patience, and focus exclusively on confirmed official sources. Do not yield to hype or misinformation. Watch the official central bank portals and recognized forex listings, because when this event goes live, the global financial world will shift with extreme rapidity. The next critical period will either provide further evidence or deliver the final, official confirmation. The systems are sensing it, the official silence is communicating it, and the technical evidence for a dual, coordinated financial adjustment is now the strongest on record. The world is watching the potential beginning of the Dinar RV.